Previously in the Death Toll Racing shop, we pulled out a 1968 442 convertible from a barn that had been sitting there for 40 years. So after giving it a quick cleanup in the engine compartment and doing some inspection, it turned out to be safe to go ahead and try to fire it off. So we changed the oil, blew about 40 years of crap out the tailpipes, and ended up with a really nice running car. Isn't that crazy? But now that we have it, so it theoretically will move on its own, we need to make sure it'll stop on its own. So we need to go through all these brakes. They haven't been used in 40 years. And man, surprisingly on the inside, they really didn't look too bad. I went ahead and replaced the shoes on the front and the wheel cylinders on the front just to be safe. I think they probably would have worked as is, but just to be safe, I went ahead and swapped them out. And the rears, everything in the rears just looked perfectly fine. So I left those alone and we'll just bleed them out the way they were. I was originally going to do a standalone episode just on the brakes on this, but it turns out doing brakes is incredibly boring, and it's incredibly boring to watch as well unless you make it go really, really fast. So the brakes didn't work too bad. My only advice would be just to take that backer off before you change that wheel cylinder. Trying to do a shortcut and just take the wheel cylinder off while it's still mounted to the car, that actually made it more difficult. So I cleaned the bearings in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then we repacked them. All that stuff looked really good once we got that old grease out of there. And it went together and assembled and spins just flawlessly. So this thing is in really good shape as far as the brakes go. So now that we can go and now that we can stop, now we need wheels and tires. I don't have the original 442 wheels, so I set out and I found these ones from Vision. They look similar to a 442 wheel, at least they resemble it anyway. But since they're aftermarket, I did go ahead and hot rod it a little bit, and I got a wider wheel in the rear. I got a 15x8 in the rear and a 15x6 in the front. The rear has a 275/60. The front has a 225/70. And I think it looks really good. I like that staggered look. It makes it look really muscly. And it resembles the 442 wheels a little bit. And now we'll set it on the ground after I sweep up a little bit. And we're going to try to make this thing move on its own. And I need to get the brakes adjusted, so we're going to go back and forth a little bit. And also, the clutch is probably going to sound a little weird. It's been stuck in the same spot for 40 years. So the clutch sounds a little sandy, and that's just because everything is just rough in there. That'll smooth out. It actually is, it feels pretty smooth as of now. It's very possible that as we drive this car around, the clutch will start to slip, or it'll possibly start to chatter, but so far it actually feels pretty smooth on it. So I am pumping the brakes a lot, going forward and backwards, but the adjusters only adjust when you're going backwards. So I'm extra punching the brakes going backwards a little bit. Technically it's not ready to be driven, but let's take it out and drive it anyway.
It's kind of easy to speed in this car. It's so smooth. And it's so well mannered. You know, other than all the shit flying in my eyes, this is a very pleasant headed car.
We need to get back and actually start working on this car again though, so our pleasure drive is over. So the first step I actually got to go back in time. So this is actually when we were first cleaning up the car in the last video. But what I did, the process I just used a brush and a foam cannon, and I went around it a few times just to get as much of the stuff off of it gently as possible before we start really going after it. So I'm going to start out, I'm doing a Comet wash on the hood here. Now that is a very good shortcut. That works really well. It flattens the paint out. It does put swirls and stuff in it, and you are removing some paint. So always do that with caution, but it is a really good shortcut if you have something that's real sun faded, oxidized, or whatever, and you're trying to bring it back. It is a good shortcut, but it's not something you'd want to do all the time unless you want the paint to get really thin. And that may be what you want. And if that's the case, then it works good. Now, I've also tried using Comet with a buffer. And what I was trying to do is make it look patinaed, wear the paint real thin. And it looked like I did it with a buffer. It didn't look good. Maybe a guy who's better at it than I could get away with doing that, but it didn't look very authentic when I did it. Now the blue stuff on those tires washes right off with water. Usually that's something most people probably don't ever have to do, because usually the tire shop will wash that off of there before they give the car back to you once they mount up those tires. Oh, and this is fun. So I've broke quite a few of those bottles. I've never had one explode on me. In its defense, that bottle was fairly old, and I've had it sitting around for quite a while. We'll just use up what we can, and then we'll move on. I have another brand. So I'm not putting any wax on the car. This is just stage 1 buffing compound. And I feel like on cars like this, where you're just trying to make it look, it has a good look to it. It looks like authentic old paint. It doesn't look like I put clear coat over old crappy paint, if that makes sense. There's kind of two looks. I like the look of this just being buffed out. And honestly, the paint is so old, you don't even notice any swirl marks or anything like that. The swirl marks are the least of your concerns when it comes to really old paint like this. This car has a lot of chips and missing paint. You can't see it as much here, but you will see it later once we're all done and we do a little walk around. This is the most rewarding part, is wiping that off of there. Oh, and also we need to do paint and body work on this car later, so the wax would definitely hinder that. So we want to avoid using the wax for that reason as well. There's the before and after. So look at the reflection difference on the truck. It's hard to, the color changes because the ground is wet in one, but you can see how much crisper the red truck in the background gets after it's buffed out. And that's the best way I can explain it. It looks so much better in person that it's just not nearly as dramatic on camera. Camera is kind of like flat paint. And that's the problem when you're making stuff shiny on camera. They don't necessarily like the shiny paint. They don't really reflect that very well. Now, the trunk lid was real rough on this thing. Actually rough. When you touch it, it's like scratchy. So it's going to be a bit to get this buffed out. And the problem when it's at that point, I should have Comet washed the trunk, and I didn't. And that would have helped, and that would have skipped it a little bit. But instead, I'm just going over it a few times with the buffer until the rubbing compound or the buffing compound comes off easily. So I just kept going over it until it came off, and the end results were great. You can see the huge difference on it there, but you can also see where someone touched it up at some point next to the trunk lock, and then there's a stripe just on the driver's side there where they scratched it at some point and then touched it up, and it doesn't really match, and that shows very evidently now that it's all buffed out. The driver's side is the worst side as far as paint condition. There's just a lot of chips and scratches in this side, plus that rust hole over the rear wheel arch, which is just an eyesore, and I can't stop staring at it. So that's going to be one of the first projects we tackle on this car if we end up keeping this car on the channel, which I really want to do, but I don't want to take this car away from someone who has the means to do a frame off numbers matching restoration on it to put it all the way back to original. If that person wants to buy this car, I will absolutely sell it to them as long as they actually have the means to do that, because this car holds a value to me to build it on the channel. But that's really the only person I would want to sell this car to. Now that's really showing off the age there. I think the look looks cool. I really like it. I don't mind this at all. It looks like a genuine survivor car that wasn't put away like a princess or in a sealed environment. I mean, it definitely looks like it was sitting in a barn, and I don't mind that at all. I think it looks really cool. There's just something about clean glass that makes cars look a lot better. And the glass on this car is in perfect shape. Even the windshield. I highly doubt the windshield is original, though. There's just no way. She was a wine distributor and drove this car all over the place. There's no way that she managed to avoid every single rock from smashing her window. I'm sure at some point that windshield has been replaced at least once. And I don't see any markings on it. Which also leads me to believe it's probably an aftermarket windshield. But it's in good shape and it's not delaminating. All the side glass rolls up and down good, even the back quarter windows. And then the wing windows there have a crank on them, so you crank the wing window to open it, which I really like. I like it on my Lincoln. My Lincoln's wing windows are power, which I think is pretty cool. Now this is where it gets really rewarding. I am going to go ahead and remove this aftermarket gauge though. I'm going to put this car back to stock and I'm going to install the sending unit for the oil pressure light that normally was in the car. We probably will add a gauge later on in this car. But for now, I want to kind of start with this clean slate. Underneath all that dirt and grime, there was a very well-preserved dash pad. In fact, I think if someone put this in a climate-controlled room, that dash pad would probably be in worse shape. For some reason, the environment this was in made that dash pad not age at all. And it looks fantastic. It looks brand new. And I don't really think that's duplicate. You can't duplicate that, even if you were to restore it. Steering wheels are always a pain in the ass to detail, especially because they never hold up very well over time. And they have cracks and splits, and then they're just greasy and grimy, and they're gross. Speaking of greasy and grimy and gross, the center console, I'm really glad it's there. It is not in fantastic shape, though. So this is definitely going to need some work when we get to it, but at least all the parts are there, and, they're in decent shape. They're in a lot better shape than not having one, that's for sure. There's the before and after. It doesn't even look like the same car. Granted, the camera, I didn't get it quite in the same angle, and the gauge cluster's missing, so it makes it look different. But that doesn't even look like the same car. That looks so good. So now I have to do something that I really don't want to do, but it's something I have to do if I want to drive the car around once we get it to that point. I'm just going to have to throw some seat covers over these seats. Those seats are falling apart every time you get in and out of the car. They're tearing. You can hear them ripping when you sit in them. And basically, I'm putting bags over them so it contains all of it. And the foam isn't wafting around every time you drive the car. And now we'll put in a fourth headlight. Someone must have borrowed that at some point in time. I'm not really sure why that was missing. There was nothing. Everything was there to put the headlight back in. I had this one left over from my old Lincoln Continental. I'm already breaking my cardinal rule. I want this car to be running and driving at the end of each episode. And unfortunately, right now it's not. It does run and drive, but I shouldn't be running and driving it because there's no electrical on it whatsoever. So that's going to be our next episode out. It's all the fuse panel. All the fuse holders that go on either side of the glass fuse are rotten off. They rusted and corroded and they're just powder now. So we have to replace those. And that's what I want to try to do. I don't want to try to change the whole harness. I want to try to just take that apart and replace those fuse holders in there. So if any of you have a line on those, the only ones I'm having luck finding are brass ones for a Ford, which may work on this one. And I wouldn't mind upgrading them to brass instead of the steel that they used, but I'd like to find ones that are meant to actually fit this so I don't have to modify anything to make them work. So anyway, if you have a line on those for a GM panel, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. And I think this is going to be a fun project